I am unique. I am happiness. I am healthy. I am good. I am strong. I am thinking help to others. I am bravery. I am wealthy. I am graduate. I am amazing. I am mercy. I am housewife. I am Lily Joseph. All the best. English language for career. What is communication? Why do we communicate? What comes to your mind when you hear English? Is it important to communicate in English? So why? If not, why? Jobs. Self-analysis. Where are you today? Where do you want to be next year? Does your plan for employment balance the financial need for you and your family? Is getting a job early important for you? How long can you wait for a job? To get a prepared job in the market, check the following. Is my personal skills enough? Do I have time, money, ability to learn required skill in demand? Do I have time to wait for my destroyed role and company? Is my financial situation supports my waiting period? To get an available job in the market, check the following. Is my personal skills enough? Are there jobs available that suits my skills? Will there be a new learning experience? Is it okay to take non-core jobs? Is taking up available jobs considered as a career? Sectors to know: hospitality, leisure, cinemas, malls, medicine, e-commerce, travel and tourism, BFSI, pharmaceutical, insurance, packaged food, agricultural, ITES, construction, real estate, allied health care, education, IT, automobiles, FCMG, Which sector is doing well now in your state? How do you know that particular sector is doing well? How many companies related to the particular sector are in your state and neighboring state? Where can we get information about the sectors? Choose one company and Google to get the latest news about the company. email making a request. We would appreciate it if you would. I would be grateful if you could. Could you possibly let us have? In addition, I would like to receive. It would be helpful if you could send us. Apologies. Please accept my apologies. I am sorry. I did not mean to. Sorry, I did not realize the impact of. Please accept our deepest, sincere apologies for. Please allow me to apologize for. I would like to express my deep regrets for. Attachment. Take a look at the attached. I have attached. I am sharing whatever you are actually sharing with you. You will find the below. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have any inquiries about the attachment. The requested document is attached to this email. When you recommended or given information, I hope my recommendation will be taken into consideration. I trust you will consider my recommendations, suggestions. I hope this will be of help. I hope I have been of assistance. I wish you well in whatever course of action you decide upon. Implementing these suggestions would. Social media and me. Self-analysis. Why do you use social media? How often do you use social media? What kind of posts do you circulate often? What is your opinion about posting private life on social media? Example, posting pictures of food on a plate, getting ready for a function, etc. What kind of people do you like to follow? Do I feel addicted to social media? If so, how else? How do you manage social media? Ways to balance real life and social media. Delete unnecessary social media apps from your smartphone. Don't compare. Limit your usage. Limit your time. Find new hobbies. Remember the value of real-time interactions. Consider your goals, priorities, and reasons. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, vision, understanding, clarity, agility. Money management. The 50 and 20 and 30 rule is a money management technique that divides income into 3 categories. 50% for the essentials, 20% for savings, and 30% for everything else. Sample budget professional ethics, citizenship, responsibility, fairness, gardening, trustworthiness, receptive, steps in critical thinking. The rose, I know what you are looking for. Gather information, apply the information, considering the consequences, exploring others' points of view. The rose, bud and thorn activity. Characters you think you already have. Characters you think you can develop eventually. Thorn. Characters you do not possess but should instill in you. Mini presentations. Good vocabulary using right words. Proper grammar, logical answering in a sensible manner. Qualities of a good answer. Sequencing, firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally. Relevant, giving direct, specific answers. Voice, understand the nature of your voice. Pitch, ups and downs while you speak. Key areas, international audibility. Stress, emphasis, important words. Rhythm, flow of the speech, pausing wherever needed. Job readings. Prepare, apply, network, perform. Problem solving skills. What kind of a problem solver are you? Interpretation. Rare, focus on transforming others. Occasional, focus on mastering the skill. Focus on self-motivation, regulation. Focus on self-awareness, introspection. Do you stumble upon problems? Does your decisions go wrong with your personal life? Do other people misunderstand your views? Do you find yourself in a rush to finish your tasks? Do you find yourself helpless and restless? Job reading. Prepare, apply, network, perform. Kind of interview questions. Technical, analytical, behavioral. Tell me about yours to evaluate your communication skills and see how you present yourself. If I was to ask your friends to describe you, what would they say? To understand whether you are a people person who can speak openly and honestly about themselves. Why do you want to work for our organization? To know whether you restructured the company or not. Tell me about a project you worked to demonstrate your competence. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? To know about your professional goals and ambitions. Exit card. Day 1. One new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Exit card. Day 2. One new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Exit card. Day 2. One new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Exit card. Therefore, one new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Exit card. Day 5. One new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Exit card. Day 6. One new learning for me today. One thing that I would like to know more about, read up on. One thing that I would like to incorporate into my life. Our national symbols. Symbols. We all feel proud when the national flag is hosted on 15th August and 26th January every year. You know that we become independent from the British rule on 15th August 1947 and become a republic on 26 January 1950. The national flag is a national symbol of India. On Independence Day and on other occasions, we singing the national anthem. It is also a national symbol. Another national symbol is our national emblem. We must respect our national symbols and be proud of them. Our national flag. Our national flag has band of 3 colors called Viringo. On top is the saffron color. It stands for courage and sacrifice. In the middle is white. It stands for truth and justice. At the bottom is green. It stands for prosperity. At the center of the flag is the Ashoka Chakra, a wheel with 24 spokes in blue color, our national emblem. You can see our national emblem on all coins and notes. Look at it carefully. You can see 3 lines facing in different directions. There is a wheel under the lines. It is the same wheel that is present in our national flag. There is a horse on the left of the wheel and a bull on the right. The words Satyabhama Jayanti, Satyame Jayadev, written below in Sanskrit mean truth wins. Our national anthem. Our national anthem was written by Rabindranath Tagore. We sing it on Independence Day, Republic Day, and on other important important occasions. When the national anthem is played, we show respect to it by standing at attention. We must all know the words and tune of the national anthem. Our rights and duties. Think and discuss. At home, you expect your parents to look after you. You expect them to provide you with a home, give you food and clothes, and to pay your school fee. What else do you expect them to do? Getting a proper home, food, clothes, and education are your rights. But when you have rights, you also have some duties. Some of your duties are to respect and help your parents, look after your things, and pay attention to studies. Can you think of other duties? Mine opener. Our country was ruled by the British before 15th August 1947. We become independent on that day. Our leaders got together to form a government. They first made a set of rules based on which the government would run. This set of rules is known as our Constitution. The Constitution was accepted on 26 January 1950. This day is known as the Republic Day. The word republic means that India has an elected head of state or president, unlike, say, the British monarch. Our constitution lays down some important guiding principles. The first principle is that all the people of the country will choose leaders who would from the government. This kind of government is known as a democracy. Thus, our country is no longer ruled by kings. Another important principle is that the government will ensure that all the people in the country get equal opportunities. To make this possible, the government will give support to the weaker sections of society, for example, by providing job reservation for them. This is known as the principle socialism. It was also decided that all people in the country would be free to follow whatever religion they want. This is known as the principle of secularism. Thus, India is a democratic, socialist, secular country. Our fundamental rights. The Constitution of India gives its citizens certain fundamental rights. If anyone feels that his or her fundamental rights have been denied, he or she can approach a court of law. Some of the important rights are given here. Right to equality, right to freedom of speech. We can give our opinions without fear. Right to follow any religion. Right to justice. Right to live and travel anywhere in the country. Right to choose our profession. Right to free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14 years has been made the fundamental rights from the year 2002. However, these rights are not absolute and government may take certain measures such as reservation for the upliftment of the backward and poorer sections of society. Our duties always come along with the rights. Some of our important duties as citizens of India are given here. Our constitution is a set of rules based on which our government runs. India is a democratic, socialist, secular country. The constitution gives all citizens certain fundamental rights, and also we must follow the rules of laid down in the Constitution. We must honor the national flag and the national anthem. We must help to keep our country united. We must defend the country at the time of danger. We must protect our national property. We must protect our environment. We must treat all Indians as equals. Directive principles. Our constitution lays down certain guidelines for the government to follow for the welfare of the people. Some important guidelines are given here. Providing proper living conditions for all citizens. Providing work for everyone. Ensuring that some people do not become rich by exploiting others. Improving the conditions of weaker sections of society, such as those belonging to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Lays down the duties of the citizens. The directive principles laid down in the Constitution guide the government to work for the welfare of the people. 25 years of age can contest elections for the Lok Sabha. Citizens of India above 18 years of age can vote for the candidate of their choice. The members of the Rajya Sabha are elected by the members of the state legislative assemblies for 6 years. The president is elected by the members of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the state legislative assemblies for 5 years. The president is the head of our country. The prime minister of the country is the head of the government. He or she chooses several ministers to help him or her with various responsibilities such as defense, health, agricultural, industry, etc. The Prime Minister and the ministers make up the Council of Ministers. State governments. Laws for each state are made by the state legislative assemblies. Their members are directly elected by the people of the state for 5 years. The head of the state government is the chief minister. He or she chooses his or her council of ministers to help him or her. The head of each state is the governor. He or she is appointed by the President of India. The courts. If any citizen of India feels that his or her fundamental rights are being denied, he or she can approach the courts for justice. The Supreme Court at New Delhi is the highest court. Its decision on any matter is final. The highest court in a state is the High Court. There are district courts at the district levels. In India, there is a central government, state governments for each state and the local governments. In the central government, the parliament consisting of the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha and the president makes laws. The state legislative council makes the laws for the state. Municipal corporations or councils are responsible for governors in the urban areas, whereas a Zilla parish heads and Grama Panchayatas look after the rural areas. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the country.
Apart from the central and the state government, there is a third kind of government. This community government is elected by people belonging to one language community, Dutch, French and German speaking, no matter where they live. This government has the power regarding cultural, educational and language related issues. You might find the Belgian model very complicated. It indeed is very complicated. even for people living in Belgium, but these arrangements have worked well so far. They helped to avoid civic strife between the two major communities and a possible division of the country on linguistic lines. When many countries of Europe came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters. So, you are saying that sharing of power makes us more powerful. Sounds, let me think. Read any newspaper for 1 week and make clippings of news related to ongoing conflicts or wars. A group of 5 students could pull their clippings together and do the following. Classify these conflicts by their location, your state, India, outside India. Find out the cause of each of these conflicts. How many of these are related to power sharing disputes? Which of these conflicts could be resolved by working out power sharing arrangements? What do we learn from these two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka? Both are democracies, yet they deal with the question of power sharing differently. In Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feelings and interests of different communities and regions. Such realization resulted in mutually acceptable arrangements for sharing power. Sri Lanka shows us a contrasting example. It shows us that if majority community wants to force its dominance over others and refuses to share power, it can undermine the unity of the country. Why power sharing is desirable? Fine German engineering. Thus, two different sets of reasons can be given in favor of power sharing. Firstly, power sharing is a good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. Since social conflict often leads to violence and political instability, power sharing is a good way to ensure the stability of political order. Imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run it undermines the unity of the nation. Tyranny of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority, it often brings ruin to the majority as well. There is second deeper reason why power sharing is good for democracies. Power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. A democratic rule involves sharing power with those affected by its exercise and who have to live with its effects. People have a right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. A legitimate government is one where citizens, through participation, acquire a stake in the system. Let us call the first set of reasons prudential and second moral. While prudential reasons stress that power sharing will bring out for better outcomes, moral reasons emphasize the very act of power sharing as valuable. Annette studies in a Dutch medium school in the northern region of Belgium. Many French-speaking students in her school want the medium of instruction to be French. Selvi studies in a school in the northern region of Sri Lanka. All the students in her school are Tamil speaking and they want the medium of instruction to be Tamil. If the parents of Anity and Selvi were to approach respective governments to realize the desire of the child, who is more likely to succeed and why? Prudential, based on prudence or on careful calculation of gains and losses. Prudential decisions are usually contrasted with decisions based purely on moral considerations. Forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption, and succession, both the union as well as the state governments can make laws on the subjects mentioned in this list. If their laws conflict with each other, the law made by the union government will prevail. What about subjects that do not fall in any of the three lists, or subjects like computer software that came up after the constitution was made? According to our constitution, the union government has the power to legislate on these residuary subjects. We noted about the most federations that are formed by holding together do not give equal power to its constituent units. Thus, all states in the Indian Union do not have identical powers. Some states enjoy a special status. States such as Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, and Mizoram enjoy special powers under certain provisions of the Constitution of India. Article 371. Due to their peculiar social and historical circumstances, these special powers are especially enjoyed in relation to the protection of land rights of indigenous peoples, their culture, and also preferential employment in government services. Indians who are not permanent residents of this state cannot buy land or house here. Similar special provisions exist for more other states of India as well. There are some units of the Indian Union which enjoy very little power. These are areas which are too small to become an independent state, but which could not be merged with any of the existing states. These areas like Chandigarh or Lakshadweep or the capital city of Delhi are called union territories. These territories do not have the powers of a state. The central government has special powers in running three areas. This sharing of power between the union government and the state government is basic to the structure of the constitution. It is not easy to make changes to this power sharing arrangement. The parliament cannot on its own change this arrangement. Any change to it has to be first passed by both the houses of parliament with at least 2/3 majority. Then it has to be ratified by the legislators of at least half of the total states. The judiciary plays an important role in overseeing the implementation of constitutional provisions and procedures. In case of any dispute about the division of powers, the High Courts and the Supreme Court make a decision. The union and state governments have the power to raise resources by levying taxes in order to carry on the government and responsibilities assigned to each of them. Listen to one national and one regional news bulletin broadcast by All India Radio daily for 1 week. Make a list of news items related to government policies or decisions by classifying these into the following categories. News items that relate only to the central government. News items that related only to your or any other state government. News items about the relationship between the central and state governments. Pokhran, the place wherein India conducted its nuclear tests, lies in Rajasthan. Suppose the government of Rajasthan was opposed to the central government's nuclear policy. Could it prevent the government of India from conducting the nuclear tests? Suppose the government of Sikkim plans to introduce new textbooks in its schools, but the union government does not like the style and content of the new textbooks. In that case, does the state government need to take permission from the union government before these textbooks can be launched? Suppose the chief ministers of Andhra Pradesh, Chandigarh and Orissa have different policies on their state policy should respond to the Naxalites. Can the Prime Minister of India intervene and pass an order that all the chief ministers will have to obey? How is federalism practiced? Constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federalism, but these are not sufficient. If the federal experiment has succeeded in India, it is not only merely because of the clearly laid out constitutional provisions. The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic politics in our country. This ensured that the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity and desire for living together became shared ideals in our country. Let us look at some of the major ways in which this happened. Linguistic states. The creation of linguistic states was the first and a major test for democratic politics in our country. If you look at the political map of India, when it began its journey as a democracy in 1947 and that of 2019, you will be surprised by the extent of changes. Many old states have vanished and many new states have been created. Areas, boundaries and names of the states have been changed. In 1947, the boundaries of several old states of India were changed in order to create new states. This was done to ensure that people who spoke the same language lived in the same state. Some states were created not on the basis of language but to recognize differences based on culture, ethnicity or geography. These include states like Nagaland, Uttarakhand and Jharkhand. When the demand for the formation of states on the basis of language was raised, some national leaders feared that it would lead to the disintegration of the country. The central government resisted linguistic states for some time. But the experience has shown that the formation of linguistic states has actually made the country more united. It has also made administration easier. Language policy. A second test for Indian Federation is the language policy. Our constitution did not give us the status of national language to any one language. Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi is the mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. Therefore, there were many safeguards to protect our languages. Besides Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution. A candidate in an examination conducted for the central government positions may opt to take the examination in any of these languages. States to have their own official languages. Much of the government work takes place in the official language of the concerned state. Unlike Sri Lanka, the leaders of our country adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of Hindi. According to the constitution, the use of English for official purposes was to stop 1965. However, many non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English continue. In Tamil Nadu, this movement took a violent form. The central government responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purposes. Many critics think that this solution favored the English speaking elite. Promotion of Hindi continues to be the official policy of the Government of India. Promotion does not mean that the central government can impose Hindi on states where people speak a different language. The flexibility shown by Indian political leaders helped our country avoid the kind of situation that Sri Lanka finds itself in. Central-state relations. Restructuring the central-state relations is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. How the constitutional agreements for sharing power work in really depends to a large extent on how the ruling parties and leaders follow these arrangements for a long time. The same party ruled both at the center and in most of the states. This means that the state governments did not exercise their rights as autonomous federal units. As and when the ruling party at the state level was different, the parties that ruled at the center tried to undermine the power of the states. In those days, the central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state governments that were controlled by rival parties. This undermined the spirit of federalism. All this changed significantly after 1919. This period saw the rise of regional political parties in many states of the country. This was also the beginning of the era of coalition governments at the center. Since no single party got a clear majority in the Lok Sabha, the major national parties had to enter into an alliance with many parties, including several regional parties, to form a government at the center. This led to a new culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of state governments. This trend was supported by a major judgment of the Supreme Court that made it difficult for the central government to dismiss the governments in an arbitrary manner. Thus, federal power sharing is more effective today than it was in the early years after the constitution came to force. Are you suggesting that regionalism is good for our democracy? Are you serious? Linguistic diversity of India. How many languages do we have in India? The answer depends on how one counts it. The latest information that we have is from the Census of India held in 2011. This census recorded more than 1,300 distinct languages which people mentioned as their mother tongues. These languages were grouped together under some major languages. For example, languages like Bhojpuri, Magadhi, Bundelkhandi, Chhattisgarhi, Rajasthani, and many others were grouped together under Hindi. Even after this grouping, the census found 121 major languages. Of these, 22 languages are now included in the English schedule of the Indian Constitution and are therefore called scheduled languages. Others are called non-scheduled languages. In terms of languages, India is perhaps the most diverse country in the world. A look at the enclosed table makes it clear that no one language is the mother tongue of the majority of our population. The largest language, Hindi, is the mother tongue of only about 44% Indians. If we add to that all those who knew Hindi as their second or third language, the total number was still less than 50% in 2011. As for English, only 0.02% Indians recorded it as their mother tongue. Another 11% knew it was a second or third language. Watch this table carefully, but you need not memorize it. Just do the following. Make a bar or pie chart on the basis of information. Prepare a map of linguistic diversity of India by shading the region where each of these languages is spoken on the map of India. Find out about any 3 languages that are spoken in India but are not included in this table. Read and watch the following excerpts from an article by noted historian Ramachandra Guha that appeared in the Times of India on November 1st. The report of the States Reorganization Commission (SRC) was implemented exactly 50 years ago. On November 1st, 1956, this, in its own time and own way, has also transformed the political and institutional life of the nation. Gandhi and other leaders promised their followers that when freedom came, the new nation would be based on a new set of provinces. This based on the principle of language. However, when India was finally freed in 1947, it was also divided. Partition was the consequence of a primordial attachment to one's faith. How many more partitions would that other primordial loyalty language lead to? So ran the thinking of Nehru, Patel and Rajaji. Far from undermining Indian unity, linguistic states have helped strengthen it. It has proved to be perfectly consistent to be Kannadija and Indian, Bengali and Indian, Tamil and Indian, Gujarati and Indian. To be sure, these states based on language sometimes quarrel with one another. While these disputes are not pretty, they could in fact have been far worse. It is the formation of linguistic states that has allowed India to escape what might have been a worse fate still. If the sentiments of the native speakers of Telugu, Marathi, etc. all had been disregarded, what we might have here was one language, 14 or 15 nations. Take the example of your own state or any other state that was affected by linguistic recognition. Write a short note for or against the argument given by the author here on the basis of that example. Decentralization in India. We noted above that federal governments have 2 or more tiers of governments. We have so far discussed the 2 tiers of government in our country. But a vast country like India cannot be run only through these 2 tiers. States in India are as large as independent countries of Europe. In terms of population, Uttar Pradesh is bigger than Russia. Maharashtra is about as big as Germany. Many of these states are internally very diverse. There is thus a need for power sharing within these states. Federal power sharing in India needs another tier of government below that of the state governments. This is the rationale for decentralization of power. Thus resulted a 3rd tier of government called local government. When power is taken away from central and state governments and given to local government, it is called decentralization. The basic idea behind decentralization is that there are a large number of problems and issues which are best settled at the local level. People have better knowledge of problems in their localities. They also have better ideas on where to spend money and how to manage things more efficiently. Besides, at the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making. This helps to inculcate a habit of democratic participation. Local government is the best way to realize one important principle of democracy, namely local self-government. The need for decentralization was recognized in our constitution. Since then, there have been several attempts to decentralize power to the level of villages and towns. Panchayats in villages and municipalities in urban areas were set up in all the states, but these were directly under the control of the state governments. Elections to these local governments were not held regularly. Local governments did not have any powers or resources of their own. Thus, there was very little decentralization in effective terms. A major step towards decentralization was taken in 1992. The constitution was amended to make the third tier of democracy more powerful and effective. Now it is constitutionally mandatory to hold regular elections to local government bodies. Seats are reserved in the elected bodies and executive heads of these institutions for the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes. At the same time, there are many difficulties. While elections are held regularly and enthusiastically, Grama Sabhas are not held regularly. Most state governments have not transformed significant powers to the local governments, nor have they given adequate resources. We are thus still a long way from realizing the ideal of self-government. Find out about the local government in the village or town you live in. If you live in village, find out the names of the following: your panch or ward member, your sarpanch, your panchayat samiti, the chairperson of your silla parish. Also find out when did the last meeting of the Gram Sabha take place and how many people took part in that. If you live in urban areas, find out the name of your municipal councillor and the municipal chairperson or mayor. Also find out about the budget of your municipal corporation, municipality and the major items on which money was spent. At least 1/3 of all positions are reserved for women. An independent institution called the State Election Commission has been created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. The state governments are required to share some powers and revenue with local government bodies. The nature of sharing varies from state to state. Rural local government is popularly known by the name Panchayati Raj. Each village or a group of villages in some states has a Grama Panchayat. This is counseling consisting of several ward members, often called Panch, and a president or Sarpanch. They are directly elected by all the adult population living in that ward or village. It is a decision-making body for the entire village. The Panchayat works under the overall supervision of the Grama Sabha. All the voters in the village are its members. It has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Grama Panchayat and to review the performance of the Grama Panchayat. The local government structure goes right up to the district level. A few Grama Panchayats are grouped together to form what is usually called a Panchayat Samiti or block or mandal. The members of this representative body are elected by all the Panchayat members in that area. All the Panchayat Samitis or mandals in a district together constitute the Silla or district parishad. Most members of the Zilla Parishad are elected. Members of the Lok Sabha and MLAs of the district and some other officials of other district level bodies are also its members. Zilla Parishad chairperson is the political head of the Zilla Parishad. Similarly, local government bodies exist for urban areas as well. Municipalities are set upon in towns. Big cities are constituted into municipal corporations. Both municipalities and municipal corporations are controlled by elected bodies consisting of people's representatives. Municipal chairperson is the political head of the municipality. In a municipal corporation, such an officer is called the mayor. Prime Minister runs the country. Chief Minister runs the state. Logically, then the chairperson of the Zilla Parishad should run the district. Why does the DM or collector administrate the district? An experiment in Brazil. A city called Porto Alegre in Brazil has carried out an extraordinary experiment in combining decentralization with participative democracy. The city has set up a parallel organization operating alongside the municipal council, enabling local inhabitants to take real decisions for their city. The nearly 13 lakh people in the city get to participate in making the budget for their own city. The city is divided into many sectors or what we call wards. Each sector has a meeting like that of the Grama Sabha in which anyone living in that area can participate. There are some meetings to discuss issues that affect the entire city. Any citizen of the city can participate in those meetings. The budget of the city is discussed in these meetings. The proposals are put to the municipality that makes and takes a final decision about it. About 20,000 people participate in this decision-making exercise every year. This method has ensured that the money cannot be spent only for the benefit of the colonies where rich people live. Buses now run to the poor colonies and builders cannot evict slum dwellers without resettling them. In our country, on a similar experiment has taken place in some areas in Kerala. Ordinary people have participated in making a plan for the development of their locality. This new system of local government is the largest experiment in democracy conducted anywhere in the world. There are now about 30 lakh elected representatives in the panchayats and municipality, etc. All over the country. This number is bigger than the population of many countries in the world. Constitutional status for local government has helped to deepen democracy in our country. It has also increased women's representation and voice in our democracy.